What's going on, my trainer club? Today we are going to check out the update to the play from home scenarios from Niantic that have been changed a little bit. Some have remained the same, and some we have been won to be able to stay for good. So let's check everything out right now. Welcome to the trainer club. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Let me know in the comments below, have you seen the updates to the changes and the non-changes and the temporarily non-temporary changes going forward in Pokemon Go? So what we're going to look at today is going to be everything that Niantic has announced starting in October based on the COVID play from home scenario. There looks like there have been some changes, like we did talk about, that are now going to be lifted. Some things are going back to what they once were, which, as you guys have seen in my other video, I thought that a lot of them were quality of life updates. But here's the one thing we have to realize before we get into this is Niantic has designed Pokemon Go to be play outside as always. Like, that is their core fundamental belief. So before I start talking about what I feel like is the best for the community, I highly respect the fact that they do not change their outlook of the game for other people's opinions. What I mean by that is they want people to be outside and active as much as possible. That is like the core principle of Pokemon Go, which I totally get. It absolutely changed my gaming experience for me personally. I highly and rarely play console games anymore, honestly, because of Pokemon Go, because I enjoy the game so much and I can be outside in nature and explore at the same time, which is why all of my videos virtually are me outside doing videos, because it coincides for me the feeling I get when I play Pokemon Go. I absolutely love going to new parks, new places, new cities, and being able to explore the cities, parks, and all the amenities that nature has to offer, and being able to intertwine a game that I have become such a big fan of. So, I highly respect the stance that they take, that this game is going to be always pretty much made for the outdoors. Unless the game starts crashing, then I could see them changing it. But up until that point, Pokemon Go is a game that is made to be played outside. And although the world is still not completely normalized, there are definitely areas that are getting a little bit more normalized. So I can understand their stance that they are taking to try to get the game back to what it once was. The only problem here is our new set point for reality has now become this new play from home arena, which for some of us that have been playing outside has just enhanced that playing outside capability. But for others of us who have not had the ability to play outside, or who have chosen not to be playing outside, are now used to that scenario. So in either situation, we're gonna feel a little bit of lack at first before we go back to the new, or change our old set point, which was the new set point, to now the old/new set point, if that makes sense. So with my opinions out of the way, my gratitude and respect for taking a stance as a game out of the way, let's now get into the update. We are approximately 1 day away from this happening, so I hope you guys are ready for this, because we ultimately have no choice. And if you guys want to make a say or make something different, I'm going to put out a tweet on my Twitter at the Trainer Club with 2 B's. Make sure to go there and interact with it, because I will be tagging Niantic and Niantic Help for you guys to help maybe make a voice heard, and we're gonna have a survey to see how we feel about the new updated bonuses. So please get on over to my Twitter and make your voice heard, as well as in the comments below, because I'm sure that somebody in Niantic is always watching a lot of the content creators and seeing what they put out, even though some of us, such as myself, don't have any direct affiliation. So let's start off with what is staying. Thank you to Pokemon Go Hub for breaking down this article. It's really nice. So the 3 things that are going to be staying. Number 1 is remote raiding. The reason why I'm a little bit scared about this is they're saying that staying for remote raiding. So I thought, and from what their language was when they put out remote raiding, was that remote raiding was going to be an integral part of the game process. But as we get towards the end of this COVID situation, they're going to start nerfing the damage from the remote players and even limiting the amount of remote players that can be in there further. So it's more dependent on your current surrounding areas. In my ideal situation, that would be absolutely ideal. I wouldn't do the damage nerf. Maybe I would limit the players to maybe a little bit less remote raid invited players. But beyond that, I think that remote raiding is an amazing feature to the game. And for those people that love to play outside, such as myself, if I'm walking during raid hour and I can't see or get to a raid in a certain amount of time, but I can remote rate it on my way walking from gym to gym, I may be the exception, but that scenario is absolutely amazing for me. It helps me get in a couple more gyms as I'm playing outside, so it has enhanced my play from home and my play from outside experience, which I think is really valuable. So I really hope that remote rating stays, and if it doesn't, I'm really gonna be disappointed in that facet, just because I feel like it enhances more than it depletes. And then after Pokemon Go is done, we have the luxury to play and raid around the world, which is absolutely fantastic. Number 2 is gonna be no walking distance for Go Battle League. I do love the Go Battle League. I don't think it needs walking distance in general. The reason why I say this is because it's kind of a feature that you would play from home anyway. Like, sure, you can go outside and walk and then play your Go Battle Leagues on your walk, which is a pretty cool feature now that I'm talking about it. However, it's also a feature that is really good to play from home, because you gotta realize, when 2016 Pokemon Go came out, if you guys wanna see my video, none of these features were in the game. So, obviously, once you got home, you couldn't play Pokemon Go, really. Like, what could you do? You go through your inventory and check your Pokemon, and that's it. You couldn't do anything further beyond that, which I thought was one of the biggest downfalls of Pokemon Go, is lacking the engagement when you are not being able to be outside, which you physically can't be outside 24/7. And I get the draw to get you outside, but at some point you're not gonna be going outside. So the Go Battle League, I also think, should be a permanent non-walk feature, or if there is walking, maybe a kilometer just to get you for a brief, quick walk before you do battle, which I can totally get, but there needs to be more incentive to play from home beyond just trading. That's why the remote raids and the no walking for the Go Battle League, I think, are really cool improvements that should also stay. And then finally, we have the increased distance for the Pokestops as well as the gym locations, as we have a train in the background. As far as this, I honestly think it's amazing. The reason why I say that is, for instance, I was in Atlanta at a hotel room, and there were 7 Pokestops around my hotel room. Without the increased distance, I would not have been able to hit one, because they were all just smidgetly too far outside of my radius. But once this update has been in effect and I was in there, I was able to hit 7 Pokestops, and I was able to stock my bag up, as opposed to having to like literally go outside of the hotel room just to spin a Pokestop, which was really nice. And it really helps with rating to be able to hit these gyms from a little bit further distance. So in my opinion, I think that the increased radius for the Pokestops and gyms is a great thing. The only downside is it does allow people to be a little bit further, so I totally get why they want it to be a little closer. Maybe just keep the Pokestop distance far and the gym radius as what it once was, because then you're able to interact with all those trainers, as opposed to the Pokestops, which when you're spinning a Pokestop and walking by it, unless there's a lure module on it, granted, you need to be closer to get those lured Pokemon, the spin distance is not really relevant to any other interaction in the game, which I think is still a bonus. So I think that one can also stay, but with the gym to be back to what it once was. So now what will be changing back on October 1st to normal? The number one thing, which I'm really disappointed with, because honestly, it's just fun to hatch more eggs, and it's harder to walk those longer eggs, and it's always been probably my least invested in feature in Pokemon Go is eggs. I just don't see the reward for what you pay for, to be honest with you. Like raids, you go out and raid, you get that Pokemon, pretty much. If you follow my tips, you have big parties, you're best friends with people that you're raiding with, you're pretty much catching that Pokemon every time, in my opinion, in my experience. And I do believe I've helped a lot of you guys out with that, and I'm grateful that I have that ability. But the eggs are very, very small reward in my opinion. I rarely hatch shinies, rarely hatch 100% IVs. You know, you get Stardust, but I've never really felt like super compelled to buy a ton of incubators, because every time I do so, I feel like I get so much mediocre stuff. Like, at least when I do a raid, I'm catching a legendary Pokemon. That's powerful, even if it's the worst stats that you can catch it at. When I hatch a Venipede from a 5-kilometer egg that I just walked 5 kilometers on, and I put all my incubators on, and I hatch 3 Venipedes, a Doduo, and a Charmander, like, I can catch that stuff in the wild walking around the block. So that's why, for me, I think that it should be stayed, honestly, just because I feel like the reward from the eggs, as I just talked about, is not a super high pay for play if you do pay to get incubators, or it's just not a big reaped reward. in general. So let me know what you guys think about this egg distance going back. I wish that it would stay. The increased effectiveness, which we will check out in a second, of what's going to be permanently staying, is now only going to apply when you're walking. So I think this is meaning that it's going back to what it once was. And if it's going back to what it once was, in order for you to fully maximize out on an Incense walking, you have to be moving at quite a fast clip. Like almost riding a, not fast, but medium speeded bike to be able to get your Incense to spawn once every minute, as it has been now. So Incenses are another one of those features in the game that I think have big potential. I saw the big potential during this time frame, but unless they cut down on the speed of walking, I think that it's a really almost waste of a feature because of how little the Pokemon spawn, even when you're walking at a relatively decent clip. So what I think, and granted we're gonna see what happens once it happens, I think that this needs to be given a slower speed to get the same amount of 1/1, as opposed to having that like bicycle speed to get you that, because realistically, even if you're riding a bicycle, you can't play Pokemon Go consciously and ride a bicycle unless you just have your gacha on, which is kind of not the purpose of playing Pokemon Go anyway. And now the next feature, your buddy's only gonna really fetch you gifts when you are virtually almost out. So I think this is fine. Honestly, like I go out and play, I'm in downtown areas and everything like that. And I know some of you guys may not, but most of the time for me is I send all my gifts out and then my buddy brings me gifts back when I've already gotten through all my gifts. And I don't know if that's the same experience for you guys or not. Granted, my buddy will give me gifts from time to time, but this one I'm not really like, I don't have too much opinions about it. I think it was a cool extra bonus to give you like those 5 extra gifts right after you send out all your gifts. But beyond that, I'm not super heartbroken about this. And next, they're talking about you're not gonna get guaranteed gifts per Pokestop spin. For me, I think that's perfectly fine. I'm curious to see what the frequency is, because they did mention that the frequency will remain in an increased fashion. So let's hear what you guys think about that, and let's report back to see how many gifts you get when spinning Pokestops on the new update. And the final part of this is we're gonna be seeing increase in incubators in the shop section. I could read this 2 ways. Either they're gonna have increased boxes, new boxes with incubators, or they're gonna be using the Ultra Box and the Adventure Box, and they're gonna be putting more incubators in this section. So there are certain times in games where a lot of you guys talk about where there's cash grabs. And I have seen a lot of people talking about cash grabs. However, the boxes in the shop have always been a pay premium to get these items. So if they keep them relatively the same, which is not a typical Niantic fashioned idea, typically what happens is when they put more of one thing in, they take more of one thing out. Which, if they're truly trying to genuinely keep everybody happy in this scenario, they're gonna be putting more incubators in and not taking anything out from as far as raid passes, star pieces, lucky eggs, and so forth. So let's see how this is integrated and implemented and truly see what their intention is behind this, because making the eggs go back to normal, coupled with having increased incubators in the shop, not really a good language look for your game when you're trying to help people out in a scenario where some people are still compromised. Let me know what you guys think about this. And then finally, some big wins, guys. If you didn't see my video that when I talked about how I think a lot of these things should be implemented into Pokemon Go like full time, because I think that a lot of these features upgraded really truly make the quality of life update much better and still stay within the boundaries of Niantic's play outside while you play video games. The #1 feature, which is amazing, is going to be 20 gifts in your inventory at all times. This has been like a must since gifts came out. So I'm glad that they finally did that, because it's able and helps you send more gifts to friends. #2, I think that the one thing about this is that I didn't see mentioned is what's happening with opening 30 gifts or opening 20 gifts. I haven't seen that yet. I sure hope that it stays at the 30 gifts, because 20 gifts with 200 friends is only 10% of your friends list that you're able to open, which is incredibly low. 30 friends gifts is still actually pretty low when you take it as a percentage of the entire friends list that you have if you have 200. Another feature that's really cool is the 3x catch Stardust and 3x catch XP that we have seen since the beginning, and honestly I forgot about that, but it's now a permanent feature added into Pokemon Go, so we all can get a little bit more XP and a little bit more Stardust on each interaction every day. And on that 7th day, it's pretty lucrative. And then the last feature that's going to be improved and stayed upon is going to be 60-minute incenses. As I talked about before, I think this is a big win. Incenses have been coupled with incubators, the two most least incentivized pay-to-play items that I do participate in. Didn't like it before. Now that it's 60, the only thing that's really gonna sway me to keep this is if we now have the 60-minute and the walking speed is decreased so that we can get Pokemon faster by walking a little bit slower. So if that is a change, I will be all about the incenses. If it is not, I am not gonna be a fan of the incenses. Still, I think it was 1 Pokemon every 5 minutes if you're not walking. So you're getting 6 Pokemon for 30 minutes, which is like, what is that? And the last feature, which I really don't like the way that they implemented it, was remember how we used to get a lot of Pokeballs from gifts? I thought that was great, especially using an auto catcher, which is somewhat selfish of a desire. Opening those gifts and getting a lot of Pokeballs, especially Great Balls and Ultra Balls, they really helped out on like the really hard scenarios where we're playing like Community Day for the 6 hours, which I thought was really amazing, to give us more Pokeballs, Great Balls, Ultra Balls. I thought it was great. They didn't really address that it was changing, they just shut it down. And then I saw somebody on Twitter ask Niantic help, and what the response was is there has been no known change. Which there was a dramatic change, because I went from opening 30 gifts and getting 150 to 200 Pokeballs to virtually getting like 30 to 40. So they not only cut it down 50%, it was over 50%, and there was no addressing what was happening. So that's one of the scenarios where I was not really the biggest fan of how that was addressed at all. Like, you could put out a tweet that say, hey, we're cutting down the Pokeballs from this. But they didn't do that. So that's one weird thing, and it hasn't been addressed again, which I'm not really the biggest fan of, just making changes and not being upfront about the changes that are being made. I really am big about integrity. If you guys have watched my videos for a while, yes, I exaggerate my titles in my videos, but I don't have a title of a video and a thumbnail, and then you come into my video and I'm talking about a completely different other topic that is completely unrelated. That would be a breach of integrity for me to my viewers, and I think that that's a breach of integrity from a company to their players. And the last feature, which I am praying and hoping and wishing and trying to manifest, that does not change and stays for good, is the Community Day 6-hour event. 3 hours, in my opinion, was always vastly too short. It went by so fast, and if anybody had time where they couldn't play during that 3 hours, like, they're done, they couldn't play. But now that we have 6 hours, if somebody has a commitment in the beginning of the day, they can maximize on the end of the day. Or if there are hardcore players out there, like myself, and you want to play for the entire 6 hours, so be it. Or whatever that is, that 6 hours at Calm Days are absolutely fantastic. I think it is probably one of my favorite increases during the bonuses, because you can just stop playing if you've had enough. You can play a little bit more if you like the game more, or if you have a commitment, you can kind of maneuver around that commitment as well. So I hope that is another feature that, although not addressed, please stay, and please drop in the comments now, after we've covered everything, and let us know your feedbacks. Also take a step back while giving your feedback, and think about it from a game that is designed to get people out as well, and don't just complain based on your wants. Like, think about it, contemplate it, think about what would be best served for the longevity of this game being a play outside game, and then give your constructive feedback. So, I thank you guys for being here, all my likers, commenters, subscribers, Patreon members. Everybody takes your support, subscription, and participation to the next level. I'm gonna see you guys out on the next video. Peace. I want to take this time to thank everybody who supports me in every facet. It means the world to me, and an extra special thank you to all my Patreons. I greatly appreciate the extra support to continue to allow me to pursue Pokemon Go full time, allowing me to create my daily video uploads in the most timely fashion for everyone's benefit. Plus, I get the amazing experience of sharing my creative processes behind the scenes and raiding all around the globe with select upper tiers. Thank you everybody for being a part of the Trainer Club. You all mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you guys out on the next video.